Welcome. You're listening to How I Did That, a storytelling podcast. Let's jump into today's episode.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, no problem.
I'm Neha. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Neha.
I actually just went to Globally Local yesterday and did a vegan mukbang where you eat food in front of the camera. And I got the chicken souvlaki and the chicken pretenders and all this stuff.
How did you like the food?
I loved it. The first time I actually tried it was a couple weeks ago when it launched in Windsor. Not on the launch date, but a couple days after I went. I can't talk about it highly enough. I definitely recommend this as an entire McDonald's but veganized. It's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can't go wrong, right? Because everything, you don't have to worry about anything. Right.
And I got the hot fudge sundae, which reminded me of the Dairy Queen one.
Yeah.
Dairy Queen and the strawberry shortcake. Pretty much everything was I don't know what you missed. You didn't miss anything. You have everything on your menu.
I know. It's great.
I really wanted to interview you because I wanted to hear the story of how Globally Local started, because it was the new big thing in Windsor. So can you give us a little bit of background about where your life was, what you were doing before Globally Local and before you went vegan?
Okay. Well, my background is basically, go to university and right out of university, get a job. I got an undergraduate degree at University of Waterloo. And then from there, I got my postgraduate at McMaster University. And while I was getting my postgraduate, I married my husband, David, who's, was so instrumental in getting the restaurant up. He did so much of the work himself. And that's what you did then. You just got married and you started working right away. I really admire young people these days who take time off and travel and do different things, right? Mm-hmm. But no, we started working, and then soon enough we had 3 kids. So, it was always very busy work, family life. And sometime around, it was about, 10 years ago, I saw a video of beagles taking their first steps out of a cage onto grass. And it was a video that went viral from Beagle Freedom Project out of California. And I was just mesmerized by the whole concept of, using beagles for laboratory research and how traumatized they were. But obviously they got the second chance at life and they were all adopted out. I became really obsessed with Beagle Freedom Project. And from there, got rid of all cleaning products in the house and went cruelty-free, shampoos, soaps, cleaning products, anything you could think of that could have been tested on animals. I quickly got rid of and, became a really big focus, this whole cruelty-free living. And, I was trying to share that. And I wanted to get a Beagle Freedom Project dog as well, became a big objective. And then, as you see on social media, one day I saw a truck full of pigs from Toronto Pig Save, and it was during a massive heat wave, and somebody had just shared it, and I was just looking at it, and I was just, again, in just complete shock. And then I was sitting there thinking, holy gosh, what's wrong with me? You're obsessed over these beagles? This is the exact same thing. And I was like, what is wrong with me? As everybody, you need to go through this connection, right? It's because you grow up with it. Everything's in your fridge and it's, what your parents tell you. And of course you don't question it. And so, I'll never forget that sort of big aha moment. Was just still, when I think about it, it was wow. So I went vegan overnight, and, I think, there are stories of people that go vegan overnight, but for other people, it can be a longer journey, and, some taking years, and, whatever it takes. I really don't think often it is sort of an over the night thing. And, so I got involved then with Toronto Pig Save, and I did a lot of, vigils out in the Toronto area. We have since moved here to the Windsor area in May, actually. And I guess it was about 2 years ago, or maybe even longer, because the whole process opening the restaurant seemed to go on forever. And, I talked to Dave about it, and he was a lot more interested than I thought he would be. And so we started investigating with James, the owner of the whole globally local concept. And, what he did was a really great thing. He came up with the fast food concept. There's a lot of vegan restaurants, of course, with nicely plated food. But, he went fast food. And what I was really drawn to it was, I think it's the first step for a lot of people, is starting with that hamburger. Oh, that tastes pretty good. Maybe I'll try other things. And, he had such a wide menu. And I really liked the thought that, I could be part of this whole evolution by bringing this franchise to the Windsor area. He started in London, and he has a Toronto location. Those are both corporate offices. And what I really admire about what he did is he really, built the brand through his food truck. He was at all kinds of festivals and veg fests, and he seemed to be everywhere. And actually, where I first met him, I was doing outreach at Ribfest in Burlington, and he had a truck there, and he actually had a really great lineup. And it was really interesting to see that. He had a sign outside that said "Save a Life." So he was a really, real pioneer in being there. And that's where I first met him. And, we were doing outreach there, and he gave us all kinds of samples. So, obviously it was really great that he was there, and he did well. From there, we had a place here in Kingsville, and we'd always planned to retire down this way. We were renting our place out basically while we were working in Mississauga. But then with COVID and working at home, it just made sense to move here quicker. But the whole process of the restaurant had happened 2 years ago. Dave spent like almost a year and a half looking for a location. It proved a lot more difficult. We were looking for an existing restaurant that would make it easier to share, with Event Hood, and we wouldn't have to buy as much equipment. But we couldn't find the right location, and he'd always felt the location in Tecumseh was completely perfect, high traffic, perfect fast food location. Lots of commuters, a lot of people work out that way, a lot of people on their way home, big bedroom community. It was just a location that he always liked. And so one day he just said, you know what, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to build it out. And, he made a lot of connections, and he had some really great contractors lined up, and things were going, fairly well. And then, of course, when COVID hit, contractors stopped coming, and, he ended up having to be his own general contractor and go in and do a lot of the building himself, which is what he did do. And, managed to get it open. I'm still amazed to this day, that we opened a restaurant during a pandemic and were able to hire 12 people as well. Because a lot of the people we did hire, they had been let go from other places. So it was a real relief when we were able to open. And, we're so thrilled with the reaction, of course, right? I mean, it's a big investment. Mm-hmm. And of course the vegans love it, but I'm seeing a lot of other comments from, non-vegans saying, wow, I really enjoyed that, and I'm not vegan. And I just find that really cool, because it really, sort of meets my objective of wanting to, create a more compassionate world through veganism.
Wow, I have so many questions. Okay, so
that was a long story. Sort of all just popped out.
I was like, question, and then you went on to another topic. I was like, okay, another question. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna forget this. But let me think back. So you said that you met the owner of Globally Local at Ribfest.
Ribfest, if you can believe that.
Yeah, and he actually had a pretty big lineup outside of his truck, which is amazing because people go there for like heavy meat eaters, I assume would.
Oh yeah, you know what? No question. I mean, the ridicule you take at Ribfest if you're doing outreach, you have to have a super thick skin. I mean, it is just crazy. And he was in there, but it surprised me too when I was doing the outreach. There were a lot of people that came up and said, "Oh, I am vegetarian, I am vegan," but they were there with other family members. Mm. And, that's another thing Globally Local does is that, families come in, and if they're not all vegan, they all find something to enjoy. And I really find that cool. And yeah, he was in Ribfest with his truck. and, a huge rib fest. And there he was. And it was just so cool to see, change like that happening and to be received well.
And then, so you and your husband first met in there, and that's how the three of you got into doing business together.
Yeah, Dave actually, he wasn't really that much of an activist. I sort of brought the concept home to him because I thought, down the road, we do move to Windsor. I was getting to know a lot of the people here. So when we were here vacationing and spending time at the place we had here, I was getting involved with activism and Charlotte's Freedom Farm and just getting to know people. And he looked at the numbers. I mean, he's handled all the financial side, thank God. And really, we have a great manager, so it really runs on its own. And, she's involved with Dave. I sort of help on the, the fun marketing stuff, the social media.
Is your background in marketing, like from university? Like what?
Yes.
Beforehand? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I'm vice president marketing for Invest Mortgage Intelligence right now. Okay. So I've been in marketing for like 30-year career now. So every day in marketing. Yeah.
So you feel like the marketing side of what we
Yes, for sure. That's
your husband. Okay. So your husband does the financial side and then the owner.
Construction. He did all the construction side. I actually didn't do anything. Like I just walked in there after it was done. I go, you know what? I didn't do anything. Nothing.
Well, you're still a part of the team. It's amazing though.
Yeah. It was my idea. So.
Oh, wow. How did the name Globally Local come about? Like when he was selling his items at the Rib Fest, was it already called Globally Local?
Yes, he called it Globally Local from day one. And it's kind of a cool name because his whole thought process, I mean, not just the animals, but people's health and the environment, and that you can help the global world by doing things as easy as doing them locally. So it's, do things locally to benefit the global world. And so that's where Globally Local came from.
That's true. I do think that making a change in your community is the first step to making it global, I guess, right?
Yeah, like the people around you, right? And first your small group and then the community at large, and you keep expanding. And that's exactly what he did. Is the concept was, it starts local with you.
And what year was his food truck a thing? Like when did he actually start the first location? He
had his first location in London. I would actually say, I'm not exactly sure when, maybe 6-7 years ago. He started in London, and he actually had a location. He had 2 locations in London. One actually had a drive-through. He was the first vegan drive-through in the world. And he actually got quite a lot of press from that. Now he doesn't have that location anymore. There was an issue with the landlord. So he's down to 1 location in London. And he opened, I think it was just before COVID hit in Toronto, January or February, maybe January. So it was more than like 6 or 8 weeks before COVID hit. He opened in Toronto. And he got a great reception. He's in a good location. And then I guess we weren't that much further behind. We were hoping to open this spring. We ended up, COVID put us behind about 4 months.
When I went vegan, there was only almond milk in the shelves. There was no other, really soy milk, I think, almond milk, and that was pretty much it. And nowhere near the amount of vegan restaurants. I don't think we even didn't have any vegan donuts, no vegan fast food.
I know.
In Windsor.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. That's in the last 6-7 years, I've really seen like an increase in that. And in Windsor, you mentioned that a lot of non-vegans were coming to the location. Do you notice that it's more non-vegans or vegans who are actually coming in?
I actually think probably the majority of our customers are non-vegans. And we knew that coming in because he had said that, because it's fast food and quick production oriented, it's not like you can, do a nice plated food and, charge $16 for it, right? The goal is not just a big menu, but affordable. Mm-hmm. And affordable, I think, is so important. That's another thing that I really liked about it, because you do hear that a lot, so if we are going to be the first step for people, I think affordability is important. And that's why, I really feel the whole affordability angle is really important, and the big breadth of menu. So I would actually, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but if it's not 50-50, maybe it's, leaning more towards non-vegans. I don't know. But, I mean, we need to put a large number of people through the store. That's the only way the economics work.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm really hopeful that more and more non-vegans will come in, and that we've gotten a lot of posts that say that, this food is amazing and I'm not going vegan. And I feel like saying, that's fine, maybe you'll try some more, and maybe one day you will, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even with me, I have non-vegan friends, but when I went to Globally Local, I brought them along with me, and it's kind of word of mouth. It's how things spread. So that's really cool.
I know. And for me, that was always such a big thing, right? I really, really wanted to, have a space that we could attract more non-vegans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, I really felt the tie-in with Charlotte's Freedom Farm, because I feel animal sanctuaries are very similar in sort of being the first step for some people. Mm-hmm. It's interesting when you hear people talk about, why did you go vegan? A lot of it is, well, I saw Esther the Wonder Pig, or, somebody will say, I was at an outreach event and someone handed me something and I did look at it. I Googled factory farming. Mm-hmm. And I think you need to come at it from so many different angles. And, we really need to work together and support each other, mm-hmm. instead of my way is the only way, because I don't believe that.
Right. With Charlotte's Freedom Farm, I've heard of it. Is it located in Windsor?
It used to be located in Comer, which was 30 minutes from me and 30 minutes outside of Windsor. But now it's in Chatham. So it's an hour outside Windsor and an hour from where I am as well. And she just needed more space. I mean, she takes in so many animals and it was just too small in Comer, so she needed more room. And she just found the most perfect space in Chatham. So, it's worth the extra drive just to, it's so peaceful, and she has so much land, and the animals can live, their natural life there and do everything that's natural to them.
Right. Are people allowed to go and just play with the animals there? I'm not sure.
No, you have to sign up for a volunteer day. They are very, very careful, and making sure, everyone signs up, and they have enough volunteers for the size of the group, and to introduce people. They have public volunteer days, and a lot of people sort of start off that way. They have tours. And they also do, like in the summer, they have goat yoga, where Lauren lets the goats out in the front area, and they'll do yoga. And so there's a lot of different ways that the public can interact with the farm. Mm-hmm. You just have to sort of follow them on Facebook, where you can find out about everything. But I really encourage everyone to get out there and to see the animals. It's very life-changing for sure.
I did see I saw a picture of Charlotte's Freedom Farm, one of the goats, and I think the goat, I think it was handicapped.
Yes, Aspie, yes.
Yeah, it was a picture inside Globally Local. What's the story behind that? I was just curious.
Yeah, so his name is Aspie, and he passed away last summer. And when I started working with Charlotte's Freedom Farm, I started volunteering there just shortly after they opened. They started getting going with a volunteer program, basically. And, they were always so great to me, because I was living in Toronto then and just coming this area once a month, and they always let me come, right? And I really appreciated that, because I just wanted to be a part of it and just, help. And Lauren had rescued him from a goat farm. She had actually pulled him off the trailer that was going to slaughter. And I guess the farmer relinquished him. He'd said, well, he's disabled, he can't walk properly. And so she just took him. That's just Lauren, like any need, she's right there. And she brought him to the farm and, got him those, that's that sort of dog wheelchair. And she put him in there, and he started running around, and, he just had the greatest attitude and was happy despite his disabilities, right? And, his disposition was always just so wonderful. And I got to sponsor him. I was the first sponsor, actually. And so I sponsored him as a special needs goat on a monthly basis. And then he was crippled, this disease. He had another disease as well, bad enough with his whole leg issue, but he had this disease that's specific to goats that was slowly paralyzing him. So, at some point his life just became too difficult. So I don't know, he was there, maybe 8 months, but he really touched a lot of people. And, I was his sponsor, and he really touched a lot of people. And, in terms of perseverance, and, that he was a life worth saving, even though he was, disabled. People look at, well, it's just a farm animal, and it's a farm animal that's disabled. But yeah, his life did mean something. It meant a lot to a lot of people. So I was a sponsor, and then, before our grand opening, we did a big unveiling of his picture. So it was really cool.
That is so sweet. I think that's really true, where when it comes to sanctuary farming, so it's like one animal after another, and you just see them stuff in these farms, and it just doesn't seem like they're a life, because when you interact with one animal specifically, like a dog or even a pig, a cow, or anything, you really see that soul in them. But when it's just in a factory farm, you don't really think about it.
I know. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And so Lauren, she shares the animals and their individual personalities, and I think, it really helps a lot of people make that connection. And I think it's an important step. And again, as I believe, you've got to come at it from so many different angles. And Lauren's really good. It is about the animals and creating a safe space for them. And she does use them to, help change the world.
When you were in marketing, what did you learn regarding the marketing industry and animal agriculture? Is there anything that you'd like to share regarding that? Because I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons that people don't make the connection.
Yeah. I haven't really learned anything from my professional world in terms of, this whole other life that I've created on the other side. They pretty much have run parallel for me. Really, it was those experiences with Beagle Freedom Project and Toronto Pig Save, and then going to a vigil, and then getting involved with the farm. It all sort of, I was 50 when I went vegan, and it was, you think, wow, that's too long. Why didn't it happen earlier? But it didn't, right? It just didn't. So
never too late.
That's why I think it's so important to have compassion for people, because I didn't think about it before. I just, if you don't ever stop to pause and think, how can you create change? And what would consider you to stop and think? It's just not that easy, right? And you can't look at people and say, well, I made that connection, you didn't. Well, yeah, obviously, but you didn't make it when you're 45. You didn't make it when you're 40 or 35, right? And the most of our target market is, 45 and under, mostly 35 and under. And that's just, the world is becoming, and the younger group is becoming more aware. And you guys are lucky. I think you're so lucky. There wasn't this social consciousness back then, when we were younger. But there is now, and everyone's sharing stories, and it is getting out more and more. And, we have to keep doing that.
That's very true, because nowadays, nowadays we have access. Even my cousins who are 6 or 7 years old, they have access to phones, Instagram, social media, Snapchat, YouTube, all that stuff. And they're able to go on there and find those things that people didn't have. People didn't have cell phones or access to internet that easily in the 90s. One generation before me, my parents, they didn't have access to those things. So you kind of just fed what you were given. You kind of just did what you were told, because you didn't have access to know otherwise. So it's really cool.
Right. And social media is really getting the animal stories out, right? If you think about it, 20 years ago, there was no information about farmed animals. You just, the milk was in the fridge, and meat was nicely packaged in the fridge, and that's just what you did. And social media has changed everything, really. And, it was the Beagle Freedom video and the Toronto Pig Save video that changed my life so much. And and that's what's really fueling it. So, people can talk negatively about social media, but for me, it's always social media is changing the world in a good way for the animals. And, I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. And for the Toronto Pig Save, well, I heard about there was an activist who was run over by a truck. Was that the Toronto Pig Save?
Yes, it was. It was in Fairman's. I used to do outreach at Fairman's, before I started spending all my time down here and getting involved here. And yeah, I've been at that same corner in Burlington that, that so many trucks come in. It's just one after the other. 10,000 pigs at that location are, dropped into gas chambers, and you can hear them screaming coming off the truck. I mean, it's right in Burlington, and, Toronto Pig Save has brought so much attention to that place, and people have definitely gone vegan because of the awareness they've brought, and, gotten more activists to join. And yeah, it was 2 days after that bill went into effect. And
was it the egg law?
Yep. It's just 2 days after that, and the truck. She was standing there for 4 minutes, and he was idling in, the outside lane, and it was dangerous where he was, and she was standing there the whole time, and then just accelerated, and no one's ever gotten the full story. He was charged with reckless driving, not even anything severe.
Only because of that law it went into effect.
It went into effect, but it hadn't been passed.
Okay.
It just, is passed last week. I guess when something goes into a law, it takes a while to go into effect.
Right.
But it was just 2 days after that. And, they have footage of her standing there, and he was watching, and then all of a sudden he accelerated, and
he didn't get charged with manslaughter.
I know. Well, that's certainly let her family's lawyers see the video. There was a video that Fairman's had taken. Let them see it, right? Mm-hmm. And so nobody knows what the police saw. And very sad, terrible. And her favorite line, or that she was captured, saying, something like, "Oh, I don't know if it does any good, but I do know that doing nothing does nothing." And I want to have that framed, actually, for the restaurant down the road.
That would keep her memory alive, I guess. In a way.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. For those who don't know, can you explain a bit on what an egg law is?
Well, it's basically no one in Ontario can now report animal abuse on a farm. Not even employees that work there. It's now illegal to expose anything that happens. And the activists used to be able to go up to the trucks and offer comfort to the pigs or any of the animals in these slaughterhouse trucks, and take video footage of it. I mean, they have pictures of animals suffering and scratched up or with tumors or in terrible condition, and putting it online. And as we know now, what happens when that stuff goes online, and now they can't go near the trucks. So they can't take pictures of the abused animals inside. They can't give them water unless they have an agreement with the slaughterhouse. Mm-hmm. And even if at a truck stop, you would stop and see the truck there and want to just go and see the animals and give them comfort, maybe give them some water if they've been traveling for 3 days because they're thirsty. You wouldn't be able to do that. That would be against the law.
Wow.
And and it's really if it's done in the best interest of the animals, all of this, then why is this law in place? I guess just so much has been exposed that it's happened all through the states, but in a lot of the states it's been overturned. So there is hope. I know the activists, it's going to be fought. I know Regan's husband, his mission is to fight it. And I would think with all the smart minds that we have on our side that, maybe we can get this overturned. Mm-hmm. Because just think of it, no one can expose anything. So why are you so worried? Yeah. Obviously, because there are things to expose, horrible cruelty that goes on in our backyards every single day.
Yeah. That's a real step backwards, but I really hope that the law can be overturned, as you mentioned,
yes.
in other states.
Yes. It has to be. It just has to be.
Yeah.
It just has to be. And let's just hope. Yeah. I don't know how long this will go on. It's just terrible.
But it's really only through things like Globally Local that is promoting veganism and can spread the word to people who aren't vegan and bring them into this community. Because for people who don't have any friends or family who are vegan or don't really know anything about it, it's kind of just a turn-off word, I would say. Like, they hear it and they're like, oh, you only eat grass, or vegan food is so expensive. Or I've heard like so many
Exactly.
things. Yeah.
Exactly. And, a nice, warm, welcoming environment. I mean, who wants to respond to confrontation, right? Somebody eating something and just yelling at them. And, it needs to be, warm and friendly and, come on in and try our food. We want you to come in and try it. And you tell me you're not vegan, that's fine. That's why I opened this restaurant. I want you to come in. Maybe you'll eat here once a week, or, bring other friends and continue to eat, part-time vegan or go vegan. You never know, right? But it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
It needs to start for a lot of people in a non-confrontational way, and to just try it. And that's what we really want to be about, These are all familiar tastes, so we welcome you in to give it a try.
Mm-hmm. I really see
some non-vegan friends, and
I did too.
Like you were jamming anything down the throat, or just try it.
I noticed more recently, over the last few years, with the vegan community, a lot of them, or at least what I would see on social media, they would bash non-vegans, like in Instagram comments or on YouTube video comments and all. But the vegan community, like, they turn on themselves. If they see another vegan bashing somebody, I see it in the comments where they're like, don't do that. The meat eaters or people who aren't vegan will be completely turned off and use all of us a bad name. Yeah. So I really think you're right. A welcoming environment, non-confrontational is the way to go.
Exactly. And I think you need to have compassion about this whole movement. I mean, we grew up this way, right? And it takes time to change traditions. It all takes time. Some people are going to go overnight, but I don't think most are. Mm-hmm. And so we have to, be helping and welcoming and compassionate, and, people will backslide, and so what, right? Like, that's, I really think, so many years down the road, generations will look back at this period and recognize this as a really important movement that took place to benefit the world all over, right? And it happened. There was this shift away from factory farming towards more sustainability, and a consciousness came over the world. I really think everything's connected, veganism and, the unfortunate circumstances of George Floyd and Reagan. This is all tied together to tell us to change, that we're all connected. We're all one. We're all the same. We're human, and we have our non-human friends, and
species.
We're not better than them. They have as much right to be here as we do, and we're all equal, all of us. No one is free until we're all free, is what I like to say.
You mentioned earlier that you went vegan overnight, and how a lot of people don't. Can you talk a bit more about that? Because what did you like? What was your diet like earlier? Because I'm sure for people who are very heavy meat eaters, overnight vegan would be very difficult, but again, it depends what you ate before that.
You know what? That's actually a really good point, because it might sound, wow, you went vegan overnight, but you're totally right. I wasn't eating much anyways. That's actually a really good comment to make, because I had given up red meat in my teens because I just didn't like. I felt like it just sat in your stomach for like a week, which it does. But I just, I just didn't like the feeling. And so before that, I actually wasn't eating that much meat, a little bit of fish, shrimp, chicken wings maybe. But you're right, it wasn't a lot. I wasn't a big breakfast.
Well, what about the dairy?
Sorry?
What about the dairy, the yogurt or eggs? Even?
Oh, no, eggs too. I never felt right eating eggs. I tried to drink milk like my mother said. Mm-hmm. That never felt right either. But that was the absolute last thing I gave up. I had this coffee yogurt that I eat a gigantic tub of it every week. And I remember the last time I got it, and, I put the container away and I went, oh, that's it. And also coffee. So when I was thinking of going about going vegan, at one point I thought, well, I can't do it. I have to put this in my coffee, right? And then when I made that decision to go vegan, I drank my coffee black the next day, and I was shocked. It was like the third day, I was like, I don't even notice this anymore. Like, some habits can change quicker than others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now I drink my coffee black. I can't even imagine putting anything in it.
I mean, now we have so many creamers and everything available too.
Yeah. Yeah, but that actually is a good comment. You know what? That actually going vegan overnight would be different for me.
Right.
Since I wasn't eating much meat versus somebody else. But you're right. Yeah, the cheese and the yogurt, yogurt probably was the last thing.
For people who want to transition, what tips would you give? Because for people who are heavy meat eaters, what tips would you give?
I would say, first off, become comfortable with that whole protein question. My son, when he started transitioning away from meat, he actually came at it from a different angle than I did. I was coming at it more from animal rights and the environment, and he came at it from a health perspective, and he read Dr. Michael Greger's book, How Not to Die, and the effects of, meat on your body and inflammation. And so he started really cooking, and, he's in his 20s, he looks amazing. And, he would talk to his friends about it, because they were like, what are you doing? You need protein. You go to the gym all the time. How could you possibly do that? And so he has great answers about, researching for protein, that you actually don't need as much as you think. Mm-hmm. And you can actually, have a great physique and build muscle on a plant-based diet. You just have to be comfortable with it, because a lot of people are just, I'll never get enough protein. Right. So I think that whole educational process can take some time to really learn and understand, talk to other people. For guys to talk to other, watch, of course, Game Changers. Mm-hmm. Game Changers, after that came out, a lot of his friends called him, and it was like, there's no mention of the environment. There's no mention of animals. It's just a pure scientific health video for high performance athletes. So I thought that was just amazing that came out. And I think it provided a lot of education about protein and what you can eat. So I think people really need to, especially heavy meat eaters that are concerned about protein, is just to research it and become comfortable with all the options and how to go about it. And that, maybe you are getting too much protein and you can get it through all these other sources. I mean, the cow gets the protein from the grass, and it just is recycled through the cow. So, as it'll go direct to the plants instead of, taking on all that cholesterol at the same time. So it's an educational process.
Yeah. I think it's just more common and easier for people to be like, open my fridge, there's the chicken, there's the beef. Like, I've been eating this my whole life. It's easier. Exactly. Yeah, you have to go through that.
And then, just slowly starting Meatless Mondays and, so many recipes online. I mean, you can just Google easy vegan recipes, so much support, a lot of great Facebook groups. So and then I think, people just get into their favorites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's getting easier and easier when you go out to restaurants too. Like, whatever kind of restaurant it is, they usually have vegan options or are very willing to veganize something. So we're not left out without anything anymore, really, wherever you go. So I think that really helps. But for sure, doing your research first and feeling comfortable, right? Like if you're concerned about protein, well, there's a lot of resources out there that will answer all your questions, and you'll find out that you will be fine.
Right. I heard advice from another vegan, and they told me that you should kind of start with changing your favorite meals one at a time. So try to veganize your favorite meals using different ingredients rather than what you already use. And the cool thing is that with vegan foods, I find that there's so many ways to make one dish. Like you could make it cashew based or coconut milk based to get that kind of creamy texture. But then with like a mac and cheese, it would only be really butter and milk based. But yeah, they said that try to veganize your favorite meals first, and then it'll make it a lot easier for you because you're eating the same things. You don't have to change your diet, but you just replace the ingredients. That's another option. It's intimidating for people to change what they eat every day because they think they need an entirely new menu, which they
that's a good point. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And be willing to try new things too, right?
Right.
Like I think a whole new world of flavor can open up through vegan food.
Mm-hmm.
You
like
know,
nutritional yeast. I didn't know it could really give you a cheesy flavor. Just some ingredients like that I really found out once I started looking into vegan cooking now, which is really
nutritional
fun.
yeast.
Yeah.
Gives you a cheesy flavor, and black salt mirrors the taste of eggs. You know, you can do a tofu scramble and put in black salt, and then it tastes like eggs. You know, put a little bit of mayonnaise in, and you've got a creamed egg sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, so aside from these tips, when we talk about like the business, when we talk about the business side of Globally Local, what would you say were some of the biggest hurdles or obstacles over the last couple years trying to get it to where it is today?
Well, I think the first one for Dave and I was, getting past the financial commitment. Like, is this something we really wanted to do? And, Dave being my partner was so great because, for me, it was, not really about the money, although it needed to be because the investment was quite big. And, he really looked at it from the numbers point of view. And, because of that, he really took his time finding the right location and making sure that, if we were going to do this, that, it wasn't going to bankrupt us and, we'll never make any money on this or it'll never be worthwhile. Because it is our retirement fund. So we had to have that sort of practical mindset to it. I mean, of course, we want to help change the world and we, the demand, everyone wanted Globally Local to come so bad and somebody had to do it, right? So we really wanted to do that. So, we had to come first comfortable with the numbers, which we did. And, and a lot of that had to do with Dave finding the right location, great rent, and negotiated a great contract with them, getting leasehold improvements. And then, he needed to oversee everything. He was the one who hired all the different contractors. He became his own general contractor because that would save us a lot of money. So, the fact that he was willing to do that made a huge difference for us. And, who would have ever thought, this pandemic would happen? And here we are on this big financial hook and the rent was going to start being due. And so, that did cause some tense moments thinking about, what the timing have been worse. But, I kept saying, it's an essential service. People need to eat and maybe this will work in our favor. Maybe people will see that there's more of a need for vegan food and we can hire people, people are going to lose their jobs and we can be there to hire them. So there was a lot of good things that kind of motivated us going forward. And, once you sign on the dotted line in terms of the lease and, franchise agreement, you can't really look back. You have to keep going forward.
Right.
Basically.
But it's amazing that you were able to open it in the middle of a global pandemic.
I know. I still can't believe it. It was like so discouraging. It was like, and contractors stopped coming and it's hard to get deliveries. And even during those first few weeks, if you recall, like, sure you had Canadian Tire and Home Depot, but it was really hard to get things there. Like there were lineups and you'd have to wait in your car for a long time. And if Dave had 8 hours on one day allotted and you spend 3 hours in the car waiting to get your supplies at Home Depot, it was hard. Yeah. When things opened up a little bit, it got easier, but there were definitely a couple weeks where if he didn't, step in and do a lot of the work, we would have had like a complete dead period. But he was able to keep it going.
Mm-hmm. Does Globally Local deliver only around the Tecumseh area? Because I live in Windsor, and whenever I try to get it delivered, it's like it doesn't deliver to your area. So I'm not sure what the radius is.
Yeah. So right now we needed to start slow. So we started, just from noon until 8, Tuesday to Sunday, because we didn't know. And the other thing is we were hiring all new staff. Nobody had any experience. Not one person had Globally Local experience on the production side of things. And everything has to be done quickly because that's the nature of the restaurant, right? You expect it the same way you do other fast food. So we started slow. We didn't turn breakfast on right away. And now we've expanded hours. We've added breakfast. Breakfast is now all day. And we're feeling more comfortable with that. And then our next thing, probably final thing to do is to turn on DoorDash. James has an agreement with them. So that'll be the next thing. I don't know 100% right now what the radius is there, how far into Windsor they will go. I would think it would be pretty good, but not 100% sure on that.
Oh, that's
exactly
exciting.
How far DoorDash, what if there is a radius, I don't know. I don't know that much about it right now, but that'll be the final thing. We will turn that on.
When do
and
you,
you're going to need it in the winter, right? On them bad weather days.
right. When do you expect DoorDash to be coming up?
Sorry?
When do you expect it, DoorDash to be like integrated with the restaurant?
I think it's going to be fairly soon.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's already integrated into the technology. It's just a matter of, starting to feel more and more comfortable that everything's running smoothly and all the staff are well trained. Because, if we're busy and then a DoorDash orders start falling in, they need to be able to handle all of that at the same time, because people who order through DoorDash want their food just as fast as, say 3 people that are standing there. Mm-hmm. So it's basically, and it's turned out well to sort of do things one at a time like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know 100% when, but it'll be soon. And I'm sure, it'll coincide with the cooler and nastier weather that's coming, unfortunately. So we opened what we called sort of a soft launch August 6th. And then Labor Day weekend is when we turned on breakfast, and we sort of had a grand opening. We unveiled Askey's picture, and the mayor came, and we did the fundraiser for Charlotte's Freedom Farm, which is really cool because we were able to donate $5,000.
Wow!
And we allocated 50% of sales, and I did have a big goal, and we kind of fell short of that. So we personally topped it up, and it was still shy of my target. And then James, the owner of Globally Local, he topped us up himself. So we were really grateful for that. It was really nice of him to do that.
Well, that's great. What do you think, was there any biggest failure or biggest setback in the business aside from the pandemic, or was that the majority of what was the issue over the last couple of years, from when it started to now? And what advice would you give to somebody wanting to open their own vegan restaurant, which is a big feat, but somebody trying to go down the same career path is what I would.
Yeah, we're still working full time, and I think it was really, for Dave, because he did most of everything, was just kind of becoming familiar with what is involved in a fast food place. And James, at Globally Local was so helpful. He had to learn so much. And we were so lucky. I mean, the luckiest thing out of all of this is our manager, Karen. And she actually approached Dave well before we opened. And he was like, wow, somebody contacted me and she's really interested. And she contacted him again. And, he interviewed her, and he interviewed some other people. Other people had got in touch with him because he knew he needed a manager. I mean, how can you do it if you're working? You needed somebody to do the ordering and processes and manage the staff and do all of that. And it's a big job. It's a full-time job. Mm-hmm. So, hiring Karen was just a gift, really. And after she was hired, he did meet all the staff she wanted to hire, but we knew we had to leave it up with her because she's been doing that for so many years. This, she knows. And if you're going to tell somebody, it's their job to run it, you have to let them. That's my belief, right? So, I mean, she's in touch with Dave every day, but, he doesn't micromanage. And if, I've had people come up to me and say, well, I'd love a job, but you know what? That's not how it works, right? I can't now get involved in that because it is a business. We always have to remember that because, our retirement money is in this, and we have to leave it up to Karen. She's our manager. We trust her, right?
Right.
So that wasn't so much as a surprise as just oh, wow, what a gift this has been. And she went to Toronto to train the Toronto location with James, and he called Dave right away and he says, oh, she's fantastic. You're lucky. And then the crew she hired, so honestly, aside from the pandemic, we just feel so lucky that so many good things fell our way, and I mean, of course there were surprises in, ordering equipment and the wrong stuff would arrive. And, there were days I just thought Dave was going to drive his car right into the lake over various frustration things that I would think would be no different for anyone building out any type of business. I'm sure they all have their stories of all the things that were tough to get over, hurdles, and, the store wasn't wide enough or whatever. And it was funny. Some of the wrong equipment came and was set back. But it was surprising, like once he set the date, I was shocked. Like, I was like, I don't think we're ready. But maybe you're never really ready, right? And it was like only 2 weeks out, we were going to do family and friends, again, to train staff. I mean, it's very production oriented, and everyone has to be comfortable, and you have to be able to serve people quickly. So we had a 2-day family and friends event the weekend before, and that was huge. And we got great feedback, so we knew the food was great, and all the processes were working. And before the family and friends event, the fryer wasn't working, and we had all these people lined up. And it was like, Dave was going, I think we're going to have to cancel. And I was, oh no. But, 4 hours later, he figured it out. And our first day of serving, we had a lineup Thursday. It was that August 6th. And sure enough, 40 minutes in, there was a lineup around the building. So many people waiting. And again, the fryer went down. And I thought, all I could think about is, why did we do this? And so we had to tell people certain items they couldn't get. And, some people laughed, and some people had ordered. And, Dave ended up giving a lot of people their food for free that night. But it was only, I don't know, maybe a 40-minute glitch. But it was terrifying. It was really terrifying.
These people lined up too.
Oh, we had no idea. But then it was over. He fixed it, and he learned a lot about that specific fryer, because this fryer, we don't have a vent hood, so we had to get a ventless fryer, which was a huge cost, but it was the only way we could go with that location. So it just took, again, it was just a matter of learning how to use the equipment and becoming familiar with it, and not having all the bugs worked out. So since that first day, just sure things have come up. Maybe the ice cream maker was down for an hour, but nothing quite like that on opening night.
Yeah, that had to happen on opening night too.
Yep.
Is the menu the same for the Windsor, London, and Toronto locations?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Good.
James makes all the food in one location in London, so we have it trucked in. And again, where it's a fast food type operation. I mean, we don't have a chef, and all the food is made the same. So, our goal is to have these locations everywhere, and your food experience would be the same in each spot.
Right. Do you know how long it had taken James to do the testing and come up with these different items? Because the menu's very big. They have every fast food item on there.
I know. It must have been years to come to this point. I think he started out just as I can't remember the story. I'll have to refresh my memory. You just, a stand, some kind of stand. It was a fruit stand or some kind of food stand. And then I guess he added burgers, and things just took off. And, he started the restaurant, and really that food truck, he'd be everywhere. He'd be here at Windsor, and he'd be at every Veg Fest and Rib Fests and festivals. And I think the food truck really got the word out a lot. And then people would always say, I'm going to go to London. I've got to go to Globally Local. And so it really, like a lot of, London's on the way. If you're driving from Windsor to Toronto, a lot of people would stop there. And he was always at the Windsor Veg Fest. So he got a pretty good following here. And I know his Toronto location has done really well. And I think wherever it's opened, it would do well.
What do you hope the next 10 years would look like for this restaurant?
Well, I hope that, we continue to be that stepping stone for non-vegans to try it, whether they do become vegan or not, and incorporate more vegan food in their diets, and, to meet a demand. I mean, I think that's so cool. But I also want to use the restaurant to raise awareness for the animal sanctuaries. We did a fundraiser for Charlotte's. They had the barn fire. The need was so great. I mean,
that was Charlotte's? I heard about a barn fire at a specific farm.
Yes, it was at Charlotte's. And, one of the donkeys, there was Christine was the only one there, and the baying of the donkey and the dogs barking woke her up. And it was an old wood barn. Can you imagine? Like, it was like old, and everything wood and old wood. And, you know, I don't know if they know the cause of it, but apparently hay, if it's wound too tight, can combust. Mm. And so the donkey woke her up, and, you know, she ran out, and she ran in countless times to bring animals out, you know, and it was getting scarier and scarier. And she got, you know, the lives saved is just a miracle. You know, unfortunately, they lost quite a few, but so tragic. I can't imagine, you know, what that must have felt like. But, you know, what can you do? You got to focus on the many she got out, which was so considerable, and, you know, risked her own life to go in and get them out. And, you know, to see the afterwards, I mean, it was just devastation. It was just terrible. And Lauren needs a new barn, and, you know, it was an old barn. The insurance didn't cover everything. So there was just a huge need, and it's such a wonderful place. And, you know, Lauren's so amazing at taking so many animals. So, you know, we really wanted to help there and do a really big fundraiser. Mm-hmm. And there's other animal sanctuaries in the area. I want to do a fundraiser for Dara, Dara out in Wheatley, and, you know, to raise awareness of their animals and their story.
What's the name of their sanctuary?
Dara Farm Sanctuary. Oh, yeah, it's funny because Dara, you know, Lauren's got so many goats, and well, she has a lot of pigs and various animals, and they have different, you know, they have lots of pigs themselves and other animals, and they all have their own story. So they have their own set of animals. And I want to unveil a picture for Dara, one of their animals, to hang beside Aspie. And, you know, we were always hoping to get a good business from the States, Detroit, come over to our restaurant. Of course, that hasn't happened. And there's another sanctuary outside of Detroit, Farm Sanctuary, that I've been to. And, you know, they've got their own story. And so I'd like to use the restaurant to sort of tie in with these sanctuaries and, you know, raise more awareness for them. They do need help, for sure. I mean, it's so expensive to run. And, you know, not just the running expenses, but the vet expenses. I mean, no matter what, these animals get the best care.
I didn't even think about that each animal would need veterinarian care, and wow, that is a big expense.
It's an enormous expense. And should anything happen, like, you know, they take those animals to Guelph, where there is the farmed animal hospital. And, you know, without a thought, they'll take their animals down there. And that's expensive. You know, there's daily charges and expenses associated with that, and the cost with the hospital charges. And that all has to be paid for, right? And it's, they're super expensive to run. But, you know, where else would, if we can rescue some of these animals, where are they going to live? You know, they need to go to a sanctuary, and it's such a great place for people to learn and see them. So I really think the sanctuaries are very important. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's always been one of my biggest goals with the restaurant, was to help raise awareness for the sanctuaries, raise money for them. And, you know, I hope to have a fundraiser for Beagle Freedom Project too. I did get a Beagle Freedom dog. I have a beagle rescued from laboratory research. His name is Link. And, you know, we've had him for almost 5 years. He did live a year in a lab, and we got him out, and we got him. And, you know, they're mostly the U.S. There are quite a few Beagle Freedom dogs in Canada. But, you know, the issue of animal testing is, you know, worldwide. And they have, you know, big support in Detroit. So, you know, I still want to do a fundraiser for them as well.
Wow. Do all sanctuaries have donations set up on their website?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. I actually sponsor another pig at Ruby Ranch, which is north of Guelph. And, you know, my donation for Aspie is still going on in memory. And, you know what, there's so much need out there. Yeah.
I think it's great that you're raising the message for this. I will link a few of these I will link the ones you mentioned in the description of my podcast, so anybody listening knows where to go if they'd like to donate. It's interesting how you actually went vegan after you had cut out, you changed all your products because of animal testing. But then the connection between the animal testing and like what you were eating, it didn't click until way later on.
It didn't.
Yeah.
I know. And then that's what kind of made me feel so bad is here I switched out everything and I went on this absolute bender talking to everybody about animal testing and products that you have in your household. And, how could you? And changing cosmetics. And, that was pretty easy to do. And then, I saw the Toronto Pig Save video and I was like, what is wrong with you? What is that difference? Like, how can you be so focused on the beagles? It's not just the beagles. They're only one part of it. Like I said, we're all the same, right? They're the same as the pigs. And
yeah.
And they're as sentient as we are. They have the same feelings of fear, joy, happiness, family, all of that.
Yeah.
They just live differently than we do. And just because we can, does that make it right?
Most people I know who are vegan, they haven't switched out every single product in their household because of animal testing. It's more like focusing on the animals through the food. But you're right, it does come down to every product we have in our house. Even the leather seats in cars and cowskin, jacket, clothing. Not even just leather, there's other clothing, right, that's made of animal fur. And
you know what? That's so interesting that you mentioned that because you really have to decide, right? I mean, I was going to work and my shoes, my work shoes. And I looked at it and I thought, well, financially, that doesn't make any sense to me. So what I will do is run replacement, right? It was easy to get rid of the purse, but the shoes were like work shoes. And, it's just like, I thought, man, that'll be like $1,000 to change out my shoes. So it was on replacement. So it didn't take long, right? And, we downstairs in the basement, we had a leather couch. And of course, I'd never buy any of that ever again. I did give away the leather jacket. I had one leather jacket that I couldn't have. But you have to sort of decide. And, again, don't be so hard on yourself. You can do what you can do. And it's the going forward that matters. I can say to myself, oh, I wish I had never eaten that. But you did, right? So you can't go back. I mean, it's like anything, any kind of sadness or anything, you have to move forward, right? I mean, my mom came from Germany and, she was a child of the war. Her whole childhood was through the war. And, her 16th birthday dress was out of a parachute and, they didn't have food and, she didn't know what was happening. But she got through it and she always just stayed positive. And I did ask her once, I said, how did you feel? And she said, I was a child. I didn't know what they were doing. And how could I be responsible? I can't carry that. I didn't do it. And, I was terrible and I just feel horrible, but I have to look forward and, live my life the best way that I can. So, we always can't be so hard on ourselves. And I think that's what happens so much, right?
If we do have that all or nothing mentality, it does make it very hard to transition to something such as veganism.
Yeah.
You think like, if I don't do it perfectly, I can't do it at all. And then it's worse than not even trying.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I know it is odd that I started that whole thing with the laboratory testing and the dogs, right? Because, and that's another reason I love Beagle Freedom Project. Because I actually the first time I saw the word vegan was through them on following their social feed, and I was like, what is that? But a lot of them had already made that connection, and we're transitioning there, and they were talking about it, and just even talking about it, and having people listen and, oh, maybe I should investigate that more. So I'm honestly, all those triggers, I remember them like they were yesterday, all of them.
Some people, it's like I watched one video and I never knew this, and how could I have contributed to this?
Yeah.
So it's different.
Yeah, I know, but if you did, then you shouldn't be judgmental on somebody who's having that longer journey,
Right.
I always remember too, like I was on my way to work and, I was thinking of being an activist, just kind of thinking about it. But like, oh, I don't know, who can do that, right? I'm busy, I'm working, I have 3 kids, I can't do that. And then, Anita was being tried for giving water to the pigs, Anita Kreitz. And I'd noticed some people were showing up for a trial, just a handful of people, and then a few more, and they were holding signs. And I was like, And then one day I was driving to work, and then I was halfway to work, and I was like, you know what, today's the day. I just turned around, I drove to the courthouse, And there I was, right? And I was like, okay, so that was easy. I did it. And yeah, and some bear balls, and yeah, it was just kind of cool because it can be hard for some people to say, you know, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that.
Mm-hmm. People will hate on you for it. And
yes, absolutely.
You have to have thick skin, as you said earlier. Yeah.
Well, you do. You're at RibFest, let me tell you. Yeah. That was an experience I'll never forget. That's for sure.
Yeah. But it's really great that even through that, like, it's grown and in a good way.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I mean, I know we think it's not happening fast enough. Of course we do, right?
Yeah.
We want it to go faster, but that's not the reality.
Yeah.
Right? So we need globally local and more places. And, you know, and I Avocado Pit opened, and I ordered a bunch of sushi because they were so supportive of us. And I thought, you know, I've got to be supportive back, and because we've got to work together, right? Like, you know, if we can create, you know, be the starter place, then everybody can fan out and try all these other amazing options. Because Windsor's really great. It's a lot of great options for people. And, you know, we need to build it together, for sure.
Is the Avocado Pit a vegan sushi place in Windsor?
Yes. Yes.
I've never seen this. I don't live under a rock.
Oh my gosh. Well, they were promoting us. That's how I found out about them. And they were being so great promoting us. And I was, okay, you know, it was actually our grand opening on the Saturday. I said, okay, now it's my turn to give back to all these people that have been supporting us. So we ordered all this sushi. It was amazing.
Wow.
And I posted on Vegans of Windsor and said, you know, let's get these messages out about all these other great places too.
I've been trying to find all the cool vegan places in Windsor, like Bullseye Pizza 7.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's where you pick it up.
Oh, that's where you get the avocado.
Yeah, you get the sushi.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Cool. So last thing, what is your favorite item on the menu?
Okay. My absolute favorite item, 100%. I like pretty much everything, but I love the Benedict. The Benedict. Now, I don't even remember eating an Eggs Benedict. I don't know if you have. I guess it was an egg, a piece of ham, and a sauce, right?
Yeah.
That's the Eggs Benedict, and it's very popular. So the Benedict is the vegan version, and I just love it. The first time I did it, it was like I've eaten, you know, vegan sausage, but the ham, I was stunned, and I still am. I had one Friday night for my dinner.
On the breakfast menu?
Yeah, and yes, it was on the breakfast menu, but it's served all day, and it tastes the thought and the saltiness, and this, you know, the tofu egg and the sauce, and I just love it. So Benedict, what else did I have for breakfast? Okay, I love the French toast too, and the tofu scramble's delicious if you're looking for something a bit lighter. All the breakfast items are great. But definitely the Benedict. Somebody actually posted, like, you can never eat enough Benedicts. And I was like, oh my God, I so agree. I don't know if
I haven't even tried this yet. It's going to be my go-to next time.
The Benedict, yes, I love it. And, you know, in terms of the other menu items, I do love the winglings and all the different sauces. I'm a real spice person, so I like the buffalo winglings, buffalo chicken, the souvlaki. That's probably my husband's favorite. I'd say Dave's favorite is the souvlaki. And he loves the Whopper too. The Whopper.
Oh yes.
Famous Burger, my son really liked. That's so big. Like, I just can't eat it.
it's like double patty.
It's 2 patties. Yeah, it's too filling for me.
Yeah.
I can't. It's too much. I would say our top 4 items are the Famous Burger, the double patty that tastes like the Big Mac, the chicken sandwich we call it. The Pretenders, the chicken Pretenders, and the Famous Fries. Those are the top. Like, the loaded fries are also delicious. Just delicious.
Was it the Fries Supreme?
The Fries Supreme, yes. We do a lot of fries. Like, we're always ordering fries. The fries are very popular.
Yeah.
All the chicken offerings, the burgers, the souvlaki. Yeah, but my favorite is the Benedict.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, because have you tried everything on the menu?
No, I haven't tried everything. Honestly, I'm like that. Like, I eat a lot of repetition. I like what I like, but I'll try everything. I haven't eaten every single burger. I haven't had the preposterous burger, again, because it's so big.
Yeah.
Dave loves a preposterous burger, but it's an extra thick patty.
Mhm.
And I just look at it and go, oh, if I eat that and fries, we're too full.
Yeah. Over time, you'll get there.
Over time, I will try. Yes. When I've had too many Benedicts. I've eaten a lot of winglings.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of taking a break on those right now and focusing on the Benedict.
Which sauce do you get with the winglings?
You know what? I really like them all. I've had all of them,
Mhm.
but again, because I love spicy, I love the buffalo flavor
Yeah.
and the buffalo chicken sandwich as well. Very good.
Sauce and the chicken pretenders. I think right now that's my favorite. So yeah, I think that was really all the questions I had for you. I just wanted to hear your journey and how Globally Local began. And is there any parting message that you'd like to tell our listeners?
Parting message, I guess, going back to the theme of just giving it a try. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my middle son is not vegan, and he just wolfed down a famous burger the first time we brought him in, and he was like, and I've got a picture of him, and yeah, I'd definitely eat that again. That was great. And then when he was here, he's visiting from Ottawa, we brought home the souvlaki, and he was like, oh, that's even better. And, so that was really great. He's got a real mindset now to, coming here and always eating the food and trying more things. So again, I really hope, people look at it as a stepping stone, and it can, bring people in. And, if you bring someone in and they're willing to try it, like I hope you said your friends enjoyed it,
Mhm.
and then, stay compassionate with them, because maybe they're not going to go vegan as quickly as you did, but if they incorporate more and more vegan foods in their diets, how do you know what's going to happen, right? I mean, I was at a presentation by Jane Goodall once, and she said, if everyone in the world ate Meatless Monday, the greenhouse gas emissions in the world would be so much reduced. And that just seems like one day in the world, everyone in the world, and it just seems like that's so attainable. Why can't we do that?
Right.
I can't think of anyone or any serious meat eater who couldn't try a Meatless Monday.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, because there's so much going on with climate change too. It really does come back to animal agriculture being one of the biggest industries.
It's everybody in the world. Yeah. So you got to think of how big that is, right? Yeah. And I'm watching the fires burning in California and just thinking and seeing that. I mean, animal agriculture isn't the only cause, but it is one of the biggest. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we all can do, right? Mm-hmm. It's attainable to all of us. And, we're all focused on plastic, but why can't we be focused on plastic and this, right?
Yeah.
So it's, I think it is attainable. And so I'm just really hoping that people will give it a try and have an open mind and come in and have a famous burger, some winglings, or of course the Benedict, and and give it a try. And then I said, I feel like then try all these other great, amazing vegan options. And vegan sushi, how cool is that? There's, like you said, all your favorites can be veganized. When we were at our opening, the mayor had said, oh, India 47 just opened up. And I was like, oh yeah, they're on my list to try, because apparently they have a lot of vegan options there. Indian
food can be veganized very easily, yeah.
I know, that's all, because I'm such a spice person, right? We actually ordered from India 47. We phoned them up, and I was waiting for it all week. And then they go, my son was here, and it was late in the day on this Saturday. They go, well, we're so busy, it'll be 2 hours. We're like, no, I was waiting all week for that. You can't do that to me.
Did you get to try it though?
I still haven't tried it. So they're on my list. And, every time I see on Vegans of Windsor, when somebody highlights, here's great, you can get good vegan Thai food here and good vegan Indian food here, I always take a screenshot. So I'm building up this repertoire of places to try and, turn around and promote myself so that, we can keep growing this all together.
Yeah.
And if we're the first step, I just think that is so cool. It really warms my heart.
In terms of Indian food, a lot of restaurants have this, but it's like chickpea stew. It's called chana.
I know.
Yeah, if you had it. Okay, I was going to say if you haven't, you'll probably love it.
I do. I love it.
Yeah. And there's
Well, that's, you know what? That's what we do now on Christmas. We order Indian food.
Oh, you do? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's such a treat for us. Like, I just love it. And it's, yeah, that's what we order. I mean, we order from other places. We kind of like tailor to everybody's taste right now. But we order a lot.
There's just a lot. There's like potato-based curries, spinach-based. There's something called sag. It's like spinach-based. Sometimes they will put like butter in them to make them creamier, or in the lentil soups. But I'm sure you can ask for it without as well.
Oh, absolutely. I find them so willing. And there's a place in a Thai place, Roy's Thai in Leamington, actually, that we've ordered from. And you just say, you know, vegan this, vegan that. And a lot of restaurants just have, you know, tofu options. So if you're a Thai place, you know, can I have this option instead of meat? Can I get tofu? You know, and if you tell them it's vegan, then they'll make sure there's no, like, you know, beef stock in it or something. But yeah, there's a lot of options. But yeah, Indian food, oh, love it. So I can't wait to try that. And that's probably where we'll order our Christmas dinner.
Yeah, I need to try the avocado pit, was it? Yeah.
Avocado pit, yes.
Yeah. Okay,
absolutely.
Cool. So yeah, was there anything I missed?
I don't think so. Wow, you sure covered a lot. I can't believe I gave you my whole story. It's amazing.
It's been an hour and a half. It'll be a very content-filled podcast episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Link, come here. Maybe you can meet my Beagle Freedom dog.
Oh,
here he is.
Oh,
Okay.
hello. He's so cute.
And Link was rescued. He was born at Marshall Biosciences. And all you have to do is Google hidden coverage, hidden footage of Marshall Biosciences. It's a breeding facility, and they ship these little beagle puppies all over the world. You know, I mean, can you imagine? So, you know, my daughter and I always talk that, you know, his first few months, he was in a cage and no blankie. Aw, like no blanket, no toys, right? And, you know, he got out. He's, you know, like Esther the Wonder Pig, 1 in a million, he got out. You know, if you see ITR footage out of Montreal and that laboratory research, they're all beagles from Marshall Biosciences, exactly where he came from. And here he is, and he wears his Beagle Freedom collar, Beagle Freedom Project. See that? Yeah, he has a little handkerchief too that I can put around his neck that says, "Ask me where I came from." So they're ambassadors too, right? They want you to share their stories, and
I will be sure to link them in the description so that more people can know about this.
Beagle Freedom Project. They have a cruelty cutter app that you can download and scan to see if a product is cruelty free.
Oh, that's actually very useful, because there's so many products out here and you don't know what's been tested on animals or what hasn't. Sometimes the company says that they don't do animal testing, but their parent company does.
Yeah, and you know what? That again raises a good point. Like Tom's toothpaste. You know, people get angry because, you know, they started out 100% cruelty free, one of the first toothpastes and, you know, mouthwash and, you know, deodorant lines was totally cruelty free. And then they sold, I think, to Palmolive. And then everyone was like, well, we can't buy Tom's anymore. But you don't know what the owners went through, or the investment they made, or, you know, were they in debt? Did they, you know, like it's, you know, I think we have to try to stay non-judgmental. I mean, you can make that decision that you don't want to then support Tom's anymore. But you still are, it still is a cruelty-free product, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, most products have the leaping bunny symbol, or, but not all of them have done that yet, right? So I think there's so many options out there, like especially for cosmetics and face creams and toothpaste and shampoos. It's pretty easy. If you want to, you know, have cruelty-free products, I think it's easy, it's everywhere, and it's not very expensive.
Yeah, and Kia has like a bunch on their website. They have all the resources,
But they do, those products are tested on animals. And
which ones?
They do it to rush products out quicker, right? They can get quicker approval if they do it.
Oh, okay. Oh, with animal testing.
Animal testing, yeah. Yep. Isn't he wonderful?
Does he bark a lot?
You know what? He does. He can.
Oh.
Yeah. It was interesting. We had to be interviewed for him. We went down to the States, and you have to have a dog to teach the dog, because they grew up in cages, right? So we had to bring our dog down for the introduction. And so it was cool. Because that was one of my life goals, was to have a Beagle Freedom dog and rescue dog at laboratory research. And then my next life goal is to open a vegan restaurant. And I want to rescue a puppy mill.
Life goals.
I know one of my dogs, I know she's 12 years old. And again, you don't know what you don't know, but I'm sure she was a puppy mill dog. So now I want to rescue a puppy mill mom someday. I want to rescue a senior, and someday have a potbelly pig. So I've got a lot more goals to reach.
Hey, maybe you'll have a sanctuary.
Oh, yeah, you know what? I'm not sure I could do it when I look at all Lauren goes through.
Yeah.
You know, today I was there, mucking stalls, and I needed help to bring the containers up. And there's Lauren just lifting them up and doing it herself. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to have a bad back. I don't know how she does it. It's like morning to night. It never ends for her, right? So.
But for sure, adopting is definitely it's just giving them a good home is so important, because
adopting animals, yeah.
You don't
puppy mills are another.
They're just
Puppy mills, sled dogs, all these things we're learning about, right? It's terrible. I'm just trying to do my part. I don't need a sanctuary actually, because Lauren needs help, right? So I'm happy to just want to be part of it, and she's so great about that. So I'll do that and have my rescue dog and maybe a rescued potbelly pig one day.
Oh, that's awesome.
My husband could handle a sanctuary.
Great.
He told me to do all the work, which is probably true. I got him to do all the restaurant. It was amazing.
Get him to do everything.
Yeah, he was so great. He's just
awesome.
Just was a doll for sure.
I want to say hi. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Is that I'm on the camera?
He wants to go for his walk. He loves to walk.
Oh, you should bring him on the walk. But yeah, we're pretty much done. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. We covered so much, and thank you so much for joining me.
Okay, well, yeah, it was really great meeting you. That's so cool that you're finding your own way to participate and help and, get the message across and just through stories. I think that's amazing.
Yes.
It really all feeds into, we all have to come at it from different angles, right?
Yeah. Somebody might hear this podcast and, click the links that you just mentioned. I'll have them in the description and learn more and see the videos that you saw and maybe go down that path. Maybe it will help somebody transition. I really hope.
Yeah. Or go cruelty free, right?
Yeah, go cruelty free. Yeah. And just make that connection, which is very important.
Yes. And be compassionate, because it's not instant, right? It's something you have to go through, an aha moment, right?
Sure. But I think it's time for his walk now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay. Bye now.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into today's episode, and we'll see you next time.